Hello everyone. Uh, Today we will discuss about the inflation and the various points which are attached or the factors affecting the inflation. In our previous videos, we covered the most big part, which was mainly about the money supply and the interest rates and everything, and the exports and imports, and RBI, CPI data and WPI data and all. So today we will try to marry all of them and see what is the outcome, what is currently happening in on global level, and how it will affect us, or what we can expect, and what kind of strategy or what kind of decisions we should make, whether we should go for investment or whether we should not go for investment. So this is some part of fundamental analysis. Okay, so let's begin. So the first slide I will be explaining the inflation, stagflation and hyperinflation. So what is inflation? Inflation, everybody knows that general rise in the prices of goods. So ironically, it was said in America that in 1972 or 70s or 80s, two grown-up people were required to bring groceries worth of $500. Now even a 12-year-old boy can do the same job. So America has built muscles. So here we are actually targeting the inflation. It's a dark comedy. Stagflation is a different concept, wherein actually the inflation is high, but due to rising inflation the interest rates are increased, and due to rising interest rates the economic growth is slow, and the unemployment still remains high. So it is a recession with a high inflation. And then there is hyperinflation, which is about logarithmic growth into the rise in the prices. Recently it has happened in Venezuela, where the prices went by about 68% a month. It has happened in Hungary in the past, and past as in somewhere about First World War or something, and then it has happened in few African countries as well, where the growth in inflation or the inflation rate was at a rate of 36 to 64% a month. So the currency was no better than just a paper. This is just a simple graph to give you an idea how the inflation and the interest rate are married together. So in the previous slide I just said that the interest rates are inversely proportional with the inflation. So as and when the interest rates are down, then the cost of borrowing is less. So more and more players are involved for each and every product. So more products are introduced to the market, and now everybody is trying to recover his cost. So when the interest rates are down, the businesses bloom and the employment increases. Okay, so everybody gets to pay, and automatically due to the high money supply, the prices go, the inflation rises. So you can see here, just for a sake, that the light blue is inflation and the dark blue is interest rate. So somewhere from 1960s up to 82, the interest rates were high and the inflation was below that. Here in 1982, I think it was another crisis in the oil price, wherein actually the Fed that time increased the interest rates by about 20% or something suddenly in a year, and then later on they were reduced. And then afterwards, later in the day, then now somewhere in 2007 2008, the interest rates has been close to zero, but the US inflation has been somewhere between 0 to 5%. So this is the current scenario as on 12th of October 2021. So we will just take a glimpse of what is happening all around. So you can see here that the most of the energy pack has been the crude oil and natural gas and gasoline, heating oil, etc. They have shown a growth of somewhere about 60% minimum on a YTD basis. That means as compared to 2020 prices, this year they are 70%, 60% and above. Similarly, same has been we are seeing into the agriculture as well, where the growth has been at least from minus 3.7% to as high as 35%. We can exclude the lumber for a while because it depends, mainly it is used in US. Next, some more of the agricultural products wherein it has been increasing all the way from 3 to 4% to somewhere about 47, 46, 54% in coffee. It was actually surprising, coffee going up to 54%. 54% change in the price of coffee as compared to last year. It's really striking. Next, then the rubber has been showing minus 25%. So I presume that because it was a global lockdown and there was not much transportation happening, so that's why the requirement of the vehicles and accordingly the requirement of tires has been less, and that could be one reason that the rubber prices were corrected by 25%. Now the industrial and precious metal, it is same as on 12th of October 2021, or yeah, 7th of October, 7th or 8th of October 2021. So you can see the coal has shown a growth of about 200% since last year. Molybdenum as a metal has shown a growth of 1896%. Then aluminium is up by 47%. In the chemicals zone, the soda ash has been doubled in less than a year. Although iron ore has been 24% cheaper, but the steel is 40% higher. You can see again same here, iron ore was down by 30% and the steel is up by 40%. Gold and silver has been in the negative range to 7 and 14%. So mainly the cost of the input cost, the procurement cost for the chemicals or for the equipments or for the raw material has been really very high since the last year. Now one of the reason is change in money supply, growth in money supply. So here is the China's money supply all the way from 2021 January to August, and you can just see that it has been just jumping up. Same is the US, Jan 2021 to August 2021 is steadily growing up. Historically from 2004, the Chinese money supply has been somewhere at least at a degree of 45 degrees, we can say 45 degrees rise. And in case of US, it has been very slow up to 1993-94, but here in the last patch of 2020 it has gone exponentially up or straight up. So actually the money supply by US has been actually in a form of exponential, not linear. Now let's talk about our country. In India, this is the story of the money supply. So let us see that where is the inflation. The inflation is in red. The debt to GDP is in yellow. Okay, the government spending is in green and money supply is in blue. So what we are seeing here, somewhere let's pick an example like 2004, where the money supply went as good as to minus 20%. So actually they did not print any new notes, and the borrowing, the debt to GDP has been about 80%. The government spending was low, about 20% or something. and comparatively the inflation was low. Next year they printed the notes up to 50% here, and the debt to GDP and everything remains same. The inflation has been slightly up, and then comparatively, due to the high printing of notes in this part, actually you can see the inflation picking up slowly and picking out by 2010. So somewhere from 2008 to 2013 the inflation has been very high in this area. So actually the money supplied was only once, but the effect remained for 6-7 years. Again in 2020 we have printed notes here. The money supply went from -20% to +30%. So we just saw the first peak in inflation, or you can say that from 2014 to 2019 the inflation was way below 10% or so, but right now it is rising, and we can see this effect for something like this for next 6-7 years. So if I chart the data of India inflation all the way from 1997 up to here, what I'm finding is it is directly linked with the money supply. That is a proven logic. There is no need to explain anymore. But we actually have seen an average of 7.3% of inflation all the way from 1997 to now. Standard deviation or the volatility has been somewhere about 3%, and the kurtosis and the skewness, these two numbers are a bit interesting, these two categories are actually interesting, because often what happens is in statistics, whenever somebody gives a statistic explanation, it tells us only about the average and the standard deviation or the volatility. But what it tells us, the average tells us that it is growing at a rate of 7%. Okay, so the average is 7% or something. Standard deviation is 3%. So it may have gone from 7 to 10, and 7 minus 3 is 4. So it has been playing in a range of 4 to 10%. But it is not easy to spot what exactly when it was plus 10 and exactly when it was minus 4, or whether it will be in future going to trade or going to remain in the same range as 10% or 4%. So if we look at the kurtosis and the skewness, then the kurtosis and the skewness tells us that actually the data is not positive or is not negative. The data is right now standing at balance. Okay, so as I explained above that if you will make the mean plus standard deviation and mean minus standard deviation, you get a range of about 10%. Okay, so I will explain about the skewness and kurtosis towards the end, because it is a statistical explanation and it is not exactly required here. So in the next slide we are going to see what is the effect of government debt and government spend with the inflation. So government spending has been almost flattish all the way from 1998 to 2012, then from 2013-14 all the way up to 2018-19 the government spending has been actually going down. So it came down by from 14% or something to 12%. The inflation part has been actually it has peaked here, so from 2006 to 2012-13, and then it just came down. But 2019 onwards the government spending has been rising, and accordingly the inflation has been rising. So as the government is spending, government is promoting new projects, giving more and more work to the labor or to the people, the money is rolling, and when the money is rolling the inflation is picking up. This is one more factor we have proven. Now the government debt. So government debt has been kind of flattish from 1998 to 2000, or from 12% to 14%, so not a big difference in there. From 60% to 80%, so not a big difference in here in the government debt, whereas the inflation has been right now picking up. which I have already explained. So I'm just charting it again in compared with interest rate, inflation, and money supply. So this was one era of 1997 to 99, when the interest rates were kind of going down all the way from 10%. They came down up to 8%, and you can see the inflation just rocketed, boom. The money supply actually was controlled to control the inflation, and then the inflation came down. The money supply has been constantly been above 2004. The interest rates has been flattish from 2004 to 2011 by at 6% or something, and the money supply shoot up and the inflation shot up. Again here we come into, and then here this one is an interesting part. I'm not going to name anyone here, but then the interest rate were increased from 6% to 10% or something to control the inflation. So the inflation came down, but the money supply was also controlled. Now currently we are in here where the interest rates are down up to 4%, the money supply is increased, and the inflation is rising. So let us see. Now this is our international position, what we are doing internationally, future activities of India. So India has launched some international currency bonds which were worth $78 billion in past at an average coupon rate of 4.67 for 5-year period. Okay, so we are bringing more and more money from outside through Indian sovereign bonds. Okay, so the interest rate right now for the international bonds is 4.67. So you can see simply that Indonesia, Brazil, Mexico, and Turkey and Russian Federation are the countries who are offering interest rate above India's interest rate. Okay, so we are kind of bringing, comparatively we are bringing the cheaper money as compared to our current economic situation or the current offered interest rate on 30-year bond or 10-year bond in India. So we are seeing a very high change in the money supply. Now here the blue line is the change in the dollar, the change in the price of the dollar or the exchange rate. So you can see that the interest rates are the yellow ones which are dropping down. The change in the dollar is here, which went down up and now it is rising, and similarly the inflation is rising. So right now in India's case, as the interest rate go down and the dollar exchange rate is upward and rising, the inflation goes up. So it is a rising inflation scenario right now we have. Again, if I check for 2004 to 2010 area, then in that case the interest rates were kind of flattish, the inflation was rising, but the dollar here was actually the exchange rate was not exactly stable. The exchange rate was zigzag all over the place. So that time it was not very much affected. The exchange rate did not affect much on our interest rate or inflation, and also our global debt was comparatively less. I'm not sure. Yeah. So this is just a comparison between crude oil India and US bond, India 10-year bond, US 10-year bond, and the crude oil. So in 2004 to 2010, the crude oil was rising, the interest rates were rising in India, the US interest rates were down. So this was the period when US also saw recession. They whenever the crude oil price were rising, you can see here the US interest rates were above the crude oil, and it was a good atmosphere for India to reduce the interest rate and kind of come close to the US interest rate. So actually we have seen a positive or conducive business environment in here, and we saw the GDP rising exactly in this area. So recently, in current condition, the crude oil prices are rising. The US interest rates has been kind of flattish. Indian interest rates are also kind of flattish. So let us see what will happen in the near future. So in one of my searches, I have come across with a theory that whenever the US interest rates are down, whenever the crude oil is rising, India has a very conducive environment. So that is the thought I am actually trying to explain here. So let us see. I have made a simple comparison between the change in GDP and changes in the inflation, the percentage change in GDP and percentage change in inflation. So if you will see 2004 to 10, the percentage change in inflation has been kind of flattish between 5% to plus 5% to minus 5%, whereas the percentage change in GDP has been all the way from 25% to 0 and back up to 20%. Okay. Now in the same period, if we make a difference between interest rate and inflation and GDP and inflation, then you can see that the difference between interest rate and inflation has been somewhere about plus 5% all the way to minus 5%. So actually the interest rates were higher than the inflation, and the GDP, the difference between GDP and inflation has been all the way from plus 20% to minus 10% and a zigzag. So in the current scenario as well, we are seeing the same thing, that the interest rates are a little bit higher than the inflation, and that difference is going down. So very soon the interest rate and inflation will match together. Till that time, the GDP growth and the inflation, the GDP growth has been higher than the inflation. So all this tells us about that the inflation is going to go high. It may not skyrocket. We may not go into hyperinflation phase. We may not get into stagnation phase, stagflation phase. But the whole idea is, if the US or if the if the US economy is kind of in a recession or a stagflation, then that scenario is conducive for us. Whenever the oil prices are rising, we see a benefit in our current scenario, because the inflation increases, and according to the inflation, the interest rates were taken are pushed down, and downing interest rate gives a business blooming criteria. So although the rising inflation gives a very high pinch, or gives a very strong problem for household to survive, actually it helps for the businesses to survive. So it is actually a very contradictory situation, that on the individual level we face a very big pinch into the pocket, or we actually find a hole in the pocket which we cannot seal. But on the national level, we see it is a conducive and a rising scenario. Growth in salaries and growth in businesses, growth in stock market. So we are expecting that with the rising inflation, the stock markets will continue to rise. There may be some corrections, because the current scenario in the stock prices or stock market is very high on an index level, but that does not mean that there will be a correction, or there will be a situation like 2020 where the markets will turn completely upside down. It most likely is not going to happen, but we can see some strong corrections. And we have to understand that the reducing interest rate, rising inflation, rising global money supply, and government raising international money, we are looking for a very conducive and very rising stock market scenario. But most of this money is going to go into infrastructure building. So whether you should invest in infrastructure projects or infrastructure companies, or whether you should invest in financial or FMCG or auto, that is point of discussion for the next video. So bye for now. Thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment box, and we will check out that, and we will try to suffice your requirement to the best of our knowledge. Thank you.